Good morning, comic book fans. Welcome back to Comics in 5 Minutes. I'm your ever-loving host, Shorty. And, well, this one is going to take a little bit longer than 5 minutes, I think. There's a few big issues I want to get out of the way up front, and then we're going to talk about why I absolutely love the comic book. Comic book in question being The Mighty Barbarians. Been waiting for this one for a while. Michael Morecki, or Morecci, I've never been 100% sure. Him of Barbaric, which I absolutely adore. The artist, however, I'm not entirely familiar with, but I do like what I've seen so far. Giuseppe Gaffaro, and again, I apologise if I'm mispronouncing that. But all the stuff I like about it, I am going to get to, because there's a couple of issues up front which... One of them is minor, and one of them is almost certainly only me. But if I'm reviewing it, I want to be honest. And the first bit is, I'm not entirely sure if this comic book was created because they had a brilliant idea of a bad guy who could do these amazing things, including jumping between realities and taking people over and messing with timelines and all that kind of stuff. And then they thought this gives them a great opportunity to bring in some cool characters from different places. Or if they wanted to use a bunch of different characters from different bits of fiction and folklore and then came up with a story to justify that. And I feel like it's putting cart before horse if they've done it one way around, basically where the characters exist and the story is there to serve them instead of the character serving the story. Now, for a lot of people, that will be a minor consideration, but for me, it does matter, and I like the idea of more more story-based focus. Now, I'm sure that if the creators ever actually do watch this, they might have their own thoughts on this one. I'm happy to hear it. Type away in the comments there. The second one, and this one is certainly a me thing. It feels like it's very much. Like, it even bugs me that it annoys me. Like, I wish I wasn't coming across as such a tryhard, but we have 5 main characters in this story. We have Morgane Le Fay, who is from the Le Morte d'Arthur, a fantastic bit of romantic fiction, and also inspiration for the fantastic movie Excalibur. Everyone should go and watch it. And then we have King Kull, one of Robbie Howard's creations, basically think Conan but clever. From basically, I don't know the first appearance of this one, but I'm fairly sure it would be in like some kind of pulp sci-fi or fantasy magazine, because a lot of his stuff was there and a lot of his contemporaries did it. So we have 2 clearly fictional characters there. Then we have one as a real character, Burka, who isn't really a real character because we don't know anything about her. Effectively, what happened was 100 odd years ago, they found the remains of a body in a town called Burka, and it was laden with grave goods, which gave every historian the idea that this person was a hugely powerful and competent warrior and very important leader of men. Then DNA advances came along, we realised it was a woman, then people were like, oh, it probably wasn't a great warrior, it probably wasn't a leader of men. And it's been kind of nice to see the very obvious bias people have there, and I like they've given Burka a chance actually to be a woman who's also a great warrior and a leader of men. Brilliant. But fictional compared to real compared to fictional. Then we have a Nancy, who is a folkloric character from Africa, and generally is not as made up in the same kind of way. It feels like it's more part of their history and their culture and their heritage, and it feels like it's an odd thing to put down with it. And then we've got Nanook, who, and I don't really want to get too much into indigenous beliefs because I don't know enough about them, and there's an awful lot of contradictory kind of stuff out there with different tribes that believe in different things, but it feels like this again is not a fictional character. It is actually part of their heritage and their belief system, and it feels unusual to put that in with something that Robert E. Howard created. Like I say, there's perfectly obvious chances here that nobody cares as much about this kind of thing, and I don't like the fact that I care about it as much as I do, but it's worth pointing out that when you're dealing with fictional characters, you have to kind of be a bit careful about actual people's heritage. But that being said, I do like this comic book, and I'm going into details of why I like it. First off, the fact that those characters I mentioned are brilliant across the board characters. We also have a substantial number of non-white and quite a few of them are women. Yes, the leader is the big strong white guy, but it's kind of nice to show that they did take some different beats from history and actually found characters that weren't just the atypical, the absolutely typical big strong white guys. Nice, and they're well written. This is one of those situations now where I could have had problems with it, but there's 2 issues I usually have with this kind of story, which I didn't, because this is a get the gang together story. This is a bit of exposition at the front to explain what happens. Morgane Le Fay then goes and travels through various dimensions or realities to get these people together, and it really could have just been a this is how Sue met Jeff kind of thing, and just rushing through it to get to the plot. They don't. They actually give each character a fair few pages, and some really good lines to get an idea of who these characters are and why they're doing what they're doing. And when I say good lines, I mean, and again, this is one of the things that could annoy me. Kind of really over-the-top, bold, declarative statements very rarely happen in real life. People don't talk the way they do in epic fiction and pulp fiction even. But this is that kind of story. So we have these people giving really OTT dramatic statements, and it works. It feels like it's in keeping with the vibe of the comic book. It didn't bother me at all. In fact, it added to it. So 2 things which might have annoyed me actually got completely taken the other way. added to the story, made it way better than I thought it was going to be. And again, I went in with quite high expectations. Michael Recky's really good. Onto the artwork, and I do have, again, a tiny little complaint on this one, but only a tiny little one. Because for the most part, we have beautiful art, fantastic characterization, wonderful layouts, and wonderful action. And it's that last point which makes me think there's something that I'd like to see done slightly differently in its motion lines. And if people have been following my videos for a while, they know it's something which bugs me, and it's usually one of two reasons. Sometimes it can be the fact that it's somebody who might not necessarily be great at doing action sequences, so they put motion lines in to try and give the sense of dynamism and movement when they can't actually effectively show it. More often than not, it's people who are really good artists who have managed to create something that looks like it's in motion and we're just seeing fractions of time as it's moving through it, but then put motion lines in because they feel like that's how they're supposed to show action. There are fantastic artists who never do this and look absolutely amazing when they're doing it. And I do think that Ka-Pow is one of those artists who can do it, because they also use fantastic layouts. There's a sweeping arc on a page of just panels going down like that, where the action follows it. And they even use the fact that there's odd little shaped panels when they're not all equally lined up to fill in with extra bits of action. And without motion lines, it would look fantastic. The motion lines, and again, it's a me thing. I know that not everyone is bothered by this, but I do think having confidence in your art to show that you are capable of giving a scene dynamism without necessarily having to go, and here is where this one's moved to. I think artists who are good enough to do that, falling back onto motion lines is just an unnecessary thing. It could be that it's their style and they love doing it, and it's part of like how they built up their repertoire for showing this kind of fight scene. But I'd like to think that they could move on from that and nobody would mind. In fact, people probably, well, I personally would absolutely love it. And I do. I love this comic book. It's got a great story. It gives characters time to breathe. It's written fantastically. The artwork is beautiful. It also doesn't really spend a lot of time on unnecessary detail. It's detail there, but because of the way the story is paced and the layout of the page with the action on there, instead of getting lost in fantastic armor detailing, I am plowing through the pages and genuinely loving how fast it reads. It is breakneck speed, which is exactly what I want from a big over-the-top action comic book based on and inspired by folklore tales and Pulp Fiction. Yeah, absolutely brilliant. Highly recommended. And again, I'm sorry if the people who created this see this and they have some issues with what I've said. I absolutely would love to engage, and it'd be nice to have a chat. And hopefully you can put me right if I'm completely out of order here. But that's it from me for now. Might be my last one of the week as well. I think I've got through most of what I want to do, so until I see you again, look after each other, everyone. Stay safe. Bye!